Welcome to another edition of Safe Workplaces Dialogues, Lawcubator's monthly conversation series, where we bring together HR leaders, legal experts, compliance professionals, and change makers to explore how we can build safer, smarter, and more forward thinking workplaces. I'm Srimoy, Chief Content Officer at Lawcubator, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. For those who are joining us for the first time, Lawcubator is an online workplace compliance platform that helps organizations build safe, inclusive, and future ready workplaces. At the heart of our platform is our secure complaint redressal system, which enables organizations to handle sensitive workplace issues with confidentiality, transparency, and efficiency. We also offer a wide range of e-learning courses on topics like POSH, DEI, data protection, and IP, along with customizable policy templates and analytics tools that give real-time insights into compliance and engagement. Now, while our past sessions have often focused on safety and compliance, today's conversation takes a slightly different turn. We are looking at how IP awareness can be a driver of innovation, both in workplaces and educational institutions. So today's topic is how intellectual property awareness can foster a culture of innovation in the workplace and among students. We are honored to have a panel of distinguished experts with us today who will share their experiences, challenges, and strategies for creating IP conscious workplaces and universities. So let me start introducing them. First, we have Mr. Pramod Kumar. Pramod brings over 20 years of experience in IT, SaaS, EdTech, and e-learning. He currently leads IEEE India's education vertical and the IEEE blended learning program focusing on skill development and strategic alliances. Pramod actively promotes intellectual property awareness and has played a key role in expanding the reach of IEEE's educational products across academia, corporates, and the government. He also manages IEEE Computer Society Digital Library in India. Prior to IEEE, he led key accounts and large projects at the JP Group, delivering educational solutions across South India. So big thank you for joining us today, Pramod. We are very honored to have you today with us.
Thanks, Rumoyi, for the introduction.
We also have with us Dr. Lakshmi. With over 2 decades of experience, Dr. Lakshmi blends deep technical knowledge in telecommunications with a strong foundation in intellectual property rights. Holding advanced degrees from IISc Bangalore, IIT Madras, NLSIU, and more, she brings a rare combination of legal and scientific expertise to the table. As head consultant at CDOT, she leads initiatives in IPR and knowledge management for cutting-edge telecom technologies. She holds a patent in superconductors, has over 50 research publications, and plays an active role in shaping national IP policy and standards through her work with TS, TSI, and IEEE. Her contributions to promoting IP awareness and innovation in telecom have earned her multiple prestigious awards. Welcome, Dr. Lakshmi. We're very grateful that you could make it.
Thank you.
We also have with us our very own Mr. Neeraj Gupta. He's the co-founder of FormulateIP and Lawcubator and is based in Calgary, Canada. He's an angel investor, serial entrepreneur, and board member to several tech startups and nonprofit organizations. Neeraj also serves as the chief advisor for technology and innovation investments at Invest Alberta. He's on the boards of Platform Calgary, the Canadian Blockchain Consortium, the Calgary Chamber of Commerce, and Tides IIT Roorkee. He's also the author of a book on IP called Creating and Safeguarding a Strong Intellectual Property Portfolio. The one point worth mentioning here is that we kept confirming with Neeraj again and again about the timing because it's 3:30 a.m. in Calgary right now, but he didn't want us to change our usual time because of this time difference. So welcome Neeraj and a very good morning to you.
Thanks, Shimoy. Just one point. Shimoy is the co-author of the book with me. Thank you.
And we have Sandhya with us. Sandhya Vijayakumar is a trademark attorney at FormulateIP Technolegal Solutions, where she has been practicing since 2016. With nearly a decade of experience in intellectual property law, she specializes in advising clients on trademark strategy, filing, prosecution, and navigating the complete life cycle of a trademark application. Prior to joining FormulateIP, she gained foundational experience at another IP firm, building her expertise in trademark law from the ground up. She is known for making IP law approachable and relevant, especially for startups and growing businesses looking to protect their brand identity in today's competitive landscape. Welcome, Sandhya. Very happy to have you with us today.
Thank you, Shimoy, for the introduction.
All right, so let's start with round one. It's about why IP awareness matters. Now, in this opening round, let's establish why IP awareness is no longer optional in classrooms, labs, or corporate boardrooms. We'll explore how a lack of IP awareness affects innovation potential and where we are today. So, my first question to you is for Pramod is, from your experience with technical education, why is IP awareness becoming essential for students and educators today? And a follow-up question would be, have you seen real cases where lack of IP understanding led students or faculty lose ownership or recognition of their innovations?
Yeah, thanks, Shumoi. So that's a good question. First of all, looking at the importance of IPs in academia at this point in time, because students and faculty are increasingly involved in research, startups, and a lot of innovation projects. And even universities are encouraging patent filing and commercialization of their research work these days, right? So without IP awareness, most of the time they risk losing their legal rights for the work that they do. So when we have IP awareness, in fact, now when I was interacting with the UGC committee and also the ACT, the need cell very recently, and IEEE and Lawcubator frequently promotes the innovation management and intellectual property course, right? So whenever I interact with them, I get to hear that uh, if this can be very important course in the Europe and US and other countries and the continental, why can't it be in India? So these days, uh, students and faculty both in the academic segment required to understand the importance of IP, especially when it comes to commercialization or filing their patents and all of that. So understanding the copyrights, patents ensures proper attribution and help avoid infringement, especially which can harm academic and professional reputations in colleges and universities, right? Without knowing somebody's work, if you start working on it and don't endorse them, or you do the work but somebody else take the credit and start the startups and all of that, it leads to a lot of complications in the future. So even the regulatory bodies and academic apex bodies in India have been seriously thinking that this should be part of the curriculum today, right? So awareness, I would say it should not be an awareness, it should be part of their integral curriculum, so that it will raise the the what do you call, the scope of an institution, with the rise in campus startups, hackathons, and students creating IPs very frequently. Even in a lot of IEEE's hackathons, many a times these students, when they come up with their own solutions, will never know that, okay, if I don't file a patent or maybe IP for this work, somebody else will do it, right? Organizers or somebody will do it, and they'll also start the startups one few fine day, and these students won't even know that they should do it and pitch it to the investors for applying for grants and all of that. So this is very important at this stage of studying. At the academic level itself, students and faculty should get more and more involved into the IP awareness. That is one. So coming to your second question on the use cases, right? I've come across a lot of this because I interact with a lot of students, faculty, and also the incubation cells in the academic institutions. So recently, I learned from one of the professors of tier one Indian institutes that they lost a claim to research patent after one of the industry partner filed it first. And of course, they did have an MOU with the industry partner stating that no, it's a collaborative effort, but the faculty should have filed the IP for the research work. So without, I cannot say it's an ignorance or it's it's because of lack of awareness that no, there is something that they should go and file it, so that in future, if the industry reaches out to them for the joint IPs or for whatever work, it gets credits to them. Similarly, if you look at students' projects, are sometimes that it turns into funded startups. DST, the Department of Science and Technology, and a lot of stuff funding organizations, they do fund projects and programs, and a lot of times students' work gets funded for the startups by external mentors. And what happens is that original creators were they will not be included because they had not they would have not filed the provisional patent or documented ownership. These are all the very, very common use cases that I've been hearing, and I'm not surprised. I've come across a few such cases, but this has been happening around the world, and especially in US and India, it is increasing.
That's very alarming, what you just mentioned, Pramod.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the next question for you, Neeraj. Why should businesses, especially mid-sized companies and startups, treat IP awareness as a core part of their innovation strategy?
Thanks, Shimoy. Most of the businesses, when you start thinking about the businesses, I keep saying that the most important part for the for-profit business is to generate revenue, which is associated with commercialization, and create an impact. And many of the businesses have a different business models, and it could be B2B or B2C or B2B2B or partnership-led growth. So one of the very first things which they need to understand is the realization of IP. I keep saying you have to respect IP before protect IP. So understanding it, if whatever you are creating in form of patents, or many of the companies do not require to create invention, but it could be in form of copyrights, like the music industry for that matter. And some of the companies, like e-commerce companies, probably rely on brands. So trademarks come into the picture, and I'm sure that Sandhya will cover that. And in many cases, trade secrets become very, very important part. You need to first of all understand what not to do, because when you are early stage startup, nobody, or the most important businesses do discount you. So they do not care about they do, but they do not really care about infringement. But the moment when you start growing up and become a big organization, they will start filing the lawsuits against you. So, because patent and trademarks, many times it's called negative rights, which mean you are not supposed to infringe those intellectual properties. So, number for one part is respecting other people's IP, so that you don't get into the legal troubles and legal disputes moving down the line. The second part is protecting IP. When you have created IP in any shape and form, could be copyright, trademarks, or patents, there are in many of the cases there are timelines involved, and many of the cases you cannot even predate the intellectual property. So protecting IP creates a kind of a barrier to entry for many of the competitors. So it doesn't matter what size of the company you are. If you have, let's assume, a patent, then other companies probably would not be able to, infringe or would not be able to copy your invention, right? And so it creates a very strategic barrier for other companies to get in. That's one part. Second part is it also opens up avenues for partnerships, because then you can partner with other organizations, they can take the license, and especially when you're expanding in different countries and you may not want to have a complete physical presence over there. If you have IP portfolio, then having IP license and the partnership becomes very uh, important. And third is during mergers and acquisitions, IP creates a little bit bigger multiplier and higher multiplier from the valuation standpoint. So, in all these aspects, it becomes very important to understand that IP is a very strategic tool. Last but not the least, it is also a very important tool, especially for the big companies. But nowadays, I'm seeing smaller companies as well, called cross licensing. For example, Apple and Samsung may have a lot of IP overlap or infringement issues, but they are also partners and do a lot of cross licensing of the patents between the two companies, because certain patents portfolio Apple wants from Samsung, Samsung wants from Apple. So I feel that IP can create an edge, but is IP the only reason why a company will be successful? The answer is no. IP is, I keep saying that it's a legal right, but a strategic tool in the growth of the company. So your IP strategy should be aligned with the growth of your company, your business model, and how you plan to, kind of leverage it. Thank you.
Thanks, Neeraj. That's a powerful perspective, especially for fast growing companies where innovation is happening every day. So, next question is for Dr. Lakshmi. How have public sector research institutions approached IP education and protection? And what lessons can the corporate or the academic sector take from that?
I would like to go back in the history of uh, CDOT itself. When 2003 was when we really took IP very seriously. And in 1 year, we trained the whole of the company on basics of IPR. We got experts and got it done. From then onwards, we have inculcated that as one of the course or maybe a short talk for all the new joinees. Whenever whoever joins CDOT, they have to go through this awareness program. So that way, we have ensured that the whole organization is always knows the basics of I. And if anything they need, we also have an intranet website, how it is handled, and if anybody wants to go for a filing, what is the methodology they should follow, or if they have to, we have various forms and other things which we try to give in the intranet website for people. And one more thing is awareness. And of course, as you know, people keep forgetting and things like that. So every 6 months, you need to have an awareness program. So we do a couple of things, like we do something like an IPR day of our own company, where we sort of incentivize the inventors, right? Inventors, copyright owners, trademark. Trademark is generally for the company, so we have pat on our own back, and we do have copyright owners, we do have designs. So we do bring it out. We have an expert lecture and we give away the prizes on that day. We celebrate it. That way it gives motivation to the new inventors and also to the people who are already inventors. Going forward, we take this group of inventors to sort of incent how they have gone through, how did they give their experiences, how they invented something. So this is what is generally we follow, and I think this is a good strategy. And for academia, I mean, basically, I'm also from academia, right? So I mean, I did my PhD from IISc, and but my professor was very different. You know, he always wanted to file a patent first. So that's how I came to know about filing, and none of my colleagues or my friends were knowing. The main problem in academic institutions even today is they go for publication. Publication is the easiest way to get some sort of a very crude way, let me say, it's a brownie point, right? It's easier to get because you just publish. It may go through some two, three editions and then you can get it done. But patent is not that simple, right? So it has to go through a lot of, they have to spend a lot of time and energy on that. And many times it will maybe a minuscule of invention. So, okay, for let us say for that they have gone for a publication. So my intention is they should have some sort of a facilitation cell which will see if there is any patentable matter, go ahead with a patent before they go for a publication in the academic institutions. Or fortunately in India, we have time for 1 year for filing the patent if there is any novelty. So that may be the strategy which academia can do.
That's really insightful, especially celebrating an internal IP day is such a wonderful idea.
Shimu, if I can add something to what
Absolutely.
Dr. Lakshmi and Pramod mentioned, uh, what you know, most of the times, post-secondary institutions and universities and engineering colleges, the most important part of the responsibility used to be and still is to do research, create awareness, do educational programs, and give it to the broader research community and businesses, right? The knowledge part of it. But what's happening is more and more issues are coming up when it comes to financial sustainability of institutions, educational institutions nowadays, and while the universities and colleges do want to keep doing research, uh, the important tool is to also create this entire IP portfolio because and this was the concept that came from US where they started the concept of open protection. So when you the reason why people used to publish the articles. IEEE is one of the leading ones for that matter, and do everything because that was part of their mandate. If especially when you are doing, masters and PhDs, but also it adds to your resume. But then making it public so that it becomes a prior art, so that nobody else can copy it, but everybody starts using it. But the concept of open protection is where you file the patent, uh, and in many a cases, that IP and Dr. Lakshmi, I was one of the persons who wrote the IP policy for ISC. So IP is owned not only by the university or the college, but also part ownership goes to the researcher. And then anybody who is doing the research outside that institution for not for profit, they can get the license free, of course. But if it is a for profit entity, they have to get the license. That ways, the technology transfer office is generating revenue. So that's number one part of it. But number second part with Pramod also mentioned was, it also ensures that the corporates do respect you as the research institution, because it should not be the case that they just come and say, oh, I'm giving you money, so we are generating IP and everything is fine. If institute is creating IP portfolio, then the corporates do want to have access to it. So that's the reason why it is extremely important that at the college and university level they understand, and technology transfer offices do understand and promote it. Second part is these students who are studying over there, at the end of the day, either they will go into the research domain or mainstream corporate domain. And if by having IP awareness program, they will be able to contribute to those companies in a much better situation. And that's why I feel that now university and educational institutions have also started understanding and realizing that IP is another very important part, and it's not just optional uh, you know tool for the institute. So just wanted to add that.
Neeraj rightly mentioned. Moving on to the next question. This is for you, Sandhya. Now, IP often feels like a niche legal concept. So, why do you believe that every professional and not just lawyers should understand the basics of IP today?
Right. Right. So I think a lot of the points that I probably want to say is already discussed by the speakers. So I'll so whether you're a designer or whether you're a developer or content creator or writer, whatever be it, right? You're constantly creating intellectual property. Like, so basically knowing the basics of IP, like whether be it copyright, trademarks, patent, trade secrets, right? Help safeguard your ideas, your creations, and brand in itself from any misuse or theft. So it's not only about misuse and theft of your own IP, but also if you will be infringing somebody else's, intellectual property. So there is always a possibility where you can unknowingly or accidentally infringe someone else's IP. For example, like if you use a logo or an image or a trademark or a phrase in your branding or marketing without the permission of the other owner, you may end up in a litigation, a lawsuit, or even reputation damage for that matter, right? Then I would also say it will create more, like how Neeraj just mentioned, right? Monetization opportunities. So it is not only about protection of your IP, but it's also about having opportunities, learning and knowing what opportunity you have, like knowing what can be licensed, what can be franchised, what can be sold, can open up a lot of revenue streams, right? So, for example, like how musicians who license their songs, probably a developer who's patented a unique feature. So, therefore, knowing the basics, you will at least know if you have those opportunities. Then probably also if you have like you can it'll betterment your strategic business decisions. Basically, even understanding every business, the major IP is a major asset for them, right? So understanding its value in itself, right, helps you make smarter decisions about partnerships, funding, or even expanding globally. Uh, like for example, startups, investors will look at their IP portfolio to move forward, to even think about investing, right? Then we usually say digital world is equal to IP minefield. Why? Because with the constant AI generated contents and open source softwares and global online markets, right, there are several IP issues that are popping up in more complex way that you can think of, right? So even understanding the basics of concepts of IP may help you navigate the issues without just solely depending on your legal teams, right? And I'll add it also obviously it helps you for your brand building and reputation, like whether it's a personal or business brand. um, Personal business brands are everything, right? It helps you like to control how you're seen, how your brand is used, how it is grown. So, for example, a trademark or logo or slogan, right, is not just your legal asset, but it is part of your identity itself. So, how you are seen, it all depends in your business. It depends on the IPs that you've protected also. Like how Neeraj mentioned, it is not the only way, but then it is also a major part of your growth in business, right?
Absolutely. It's easy to assume IP is just a legal issue, but it actually touches everyone who's creating value in an organization or educational institution. Okay, so now that we have set the stage, let's move to actionable. So, round two is about actionable strategies. And we discuss what institutions and companies can do right now to start building IP awareness without needing big budgets or legal teams. So, the first question is for you, Pramod. Say, if an engineering college wanted to launch a basic IP awareness program next semester, what are the two to three things they should start with?
Okay, so yeah, before I jump onto the things that college should focus immediately to start with, IP awareness program. I just want to give you, a couple of facts and figures which touch bases of how important it is according to the regulatory bodies as well. Like like I said, both UGC and the AICT have recommended changes to the curriculum with the focus of IPR education in universities and technical institutions as well. That means engineering colleges and other institutions, which will help students and faculty, even the administrative staff, to improve their knowledge. Not just that, to improve the institution's ranking, you know, and establish an innovation ecosystem, incubate knowledge-based startups, earn additional revenue, fundraising, and all of that. It will also help them to measure their research activities and all of that. So not just that, UGC and AICT, even the NIRF, National Institute for Ranking Framework, ranks institutions based on the number of patents that they've applied, granted, and commercialized. This is very important. So these things doesn't happen if there is no proper awareness or a fundamental program in the institutions. Similarly, if you look at NAC, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, they award points to universities and institutions based on, I mean, there are so many parameters, and one of the parameters is that the innovation ecosystem and facility for identifying and promoting IP. So when UGC, AICT, NIRF, NAC, everybody is emphasizing on IP into the curriculum, not just as an elective or optional. It has to be imparted into the curriculum so that every stakeholder in the university, be it an administrator or a professor or a researcher or a student, whoever it is, everybody should get basics of IP and learn how to identify, protect, and manage the commercial and also commercialize them. So coming back to your question on what all things, probably 2-3 things that a college can focus to start a IP awareness program. So first thing, they should introduce a fundamental program for understanding the IP, patents, copyrights, trademarks, trade secrets, and all of that. You first know they should educate the stakeholders in the institute about what constitutes an IP, especially in the academic settings, and then different forms of IPs, difference between IPs, patentability, especially on the eligibility criteria, or when it comes to IP registration process, IP protection, especially why and how to protect the ideas of their own and their research work, and making enhancing or maybe moving the needle from idea stage to commercialization. This is one very very basic awareness about the complete IP awareness. The second thing is the IP application process. A lot of them, once they learn, they will get to they'll get an idea that okay, this is my work or the project or the research outcome, and okay, I know how important is the IP, especially when their work is being recognized and it is one of its kind. Then the next stage is they should know how to identify patentable inventions and how to file a patent and the timelines for patenting, right? Then the third one is, of course, IP in research and development, which all the institutions have been focusing on these days, emphasizing on how research projects and innovations could lead to patents, how IP rights should be considered early in the project, not just focusing on projects submitting a report, but eventually how important IPs are when it comes to R&D in the institutions. So these are the very basic 3 things that every institution or a university should focus on to provide a basic curriculum or a awareness program on IP. Then applying, then commercializing and protecting it.
Thanks, Pramod. That's really helpful. Moving on to the next question for you, Neeraj. Startups and mid-sized companies often operate with limited resources and fast-moving teams. So what are some practical, low-cost steps they can take to build IP awareness into their company culture right from onboarding to innovation cycles?
There are multiple free courses that are available online, which the companies can incorporate to begin with and make it mandatory as well. So these courses do not require more than half an hour to 1 hour of orientation when it comes to IP. So that's number one part which the companies should definitely try and do. And more importantly, it doesn't have to be every time patents. We keep talking about patents, but copyright and trademarks and trade secrets are a very important tool, and especially trade secret, which is nowadays has become very, very relevant because of AI and data privacy issues as well. You can customize those programs, and there are multiple free programs which are available. So that's number one, they should definitely do. But the second part they should do is they should also try and start recognizing specific teams which are very much contributing. Let's assume if you are a R&D company, or if you have a company where there's a lot of IP being generated, those R&D departments which are mainstream, they should then focus on spending a little bit more money. For example, with IEEE, what we have created as a program, if they can go through those certification program, because it's not just in the favor of the company spending a little bit amount of money to train those specific people, but also those researchers and people who are associated with the R&D department do appreciate it, because it also kind of adds to their resume. So that's the second part they should do it in. Third is they should also have certain amount of processes implemented within the organization, because IP awareness is successful if you are able to also ensure that IP protection and further commercialization happens. Now, commercialization may have a different ways of doing it, but protection, since these are legal rights, a lot of times because of issues related to litigation, and the nature of IP is such that you need to also establish the IP dates and the trail. As implementing those systems are also very, very important within the organization, so that the data protection from the IP invention standpoint happens, and at the same time it can be registered, because nowadays most of the companies do work in collaboration and in tandem with other organization, and there are multiple parties involved, and if at the document level, if these things are not clarified, then there could be issues related to IP ownership. So those awareness programs are also available. So I feel that it can start with as basic as just time commitment more than the investment in terms of money, and then these webinars like what we are doing right now may be important, and it doesn't cost anything, to the next stage where they can have paid content and the training awareness programs.
Thanks for sharing these practical, actionable strategies, Neeraj. Next question is for you, Dr. Lakshmi. What policy level or structural changes would you recommend to ensure IP awareness becomes a core part of institutional planning?
Basically, if I see around the organizations, I think most of them are somehow doing well. I should be saying so. And also now there is lot of assure. I mean, most of the engineering colleges, because I do work with many of them, they have their own IP policy. So, in fact, you know about the WIPO TISC program and the KSCST, who help people to have their own. I mean, the almost 70 to 90 colleges in Karnataka have IP cells, and they all have IP policy. So, to start with, I think we have done a good job of with the IP. I think that is one of the first structural change. And the other part is, of course, there should be one of the coordinator who is there in the IP cell, a facilitation to or handshaking to the inventors in the university is very, very important. So they need a help desk, or they need somebody who knows a little bit about these things, who can handhold them, or they can connect to the IP attorney. So they should have a connection with the legal and with the IP attorney, so that it becomes much more easier. And I think we have domain experts. I think we should not be doing everything. We may be knowing things, right? We know what claims are, what are things, but I think it's good to hand over these things to the experts. And I think there are a lot of schemes and other things where There's a lot of help for all those things. So main structural changes, I could only see that you need to have an IP facilitation cell in an organization and what they can do next. So that is the main thing that I.
Understood. Thanks, Dr. Lakshmi. Yeah, these structural changes could really make a difference. Moving on to the final question for this round for you, Sandhya. Many people, even innovators we have seen, struggle to distinguish between, say, copyrights, trademarks, patents. Now, the confusion sometimes is real. So, can you share any real world examples where a simple IP training helped an organization or a team avoid legal issues or protect their innovations more effectively?
Okay. Like all of us know, IBM, the tech giant, right? So they had an internal training to protect their secrets, basically. So they instituted a mandatory IP training for their engineers, their product managers, including the junior level engineers, right? So during one of their brainstorms, team communication, discussions, one of the junior level engineers, they flagged, one idea that could be patentable, which could have otherwise been documented publicly. So that led to filing a patent, and then that became a part of their major licensing platform, where it in turn got them millions of licensing revenues, right? So just a mandatory training us, the basics of it. A junior level engineer could flag such a, millions of revenue generating licensing platform. Yeah.
That's a great example of how just a little awareness can go such a long way. Thanks, Sandhya. So, in our final round, let's look ahead. What does it take to create truly IP conscious campuses and workplaces? And how do we go from awareness to sustainable culture change? So, round three is about shaping the future. So, the first question to you, Pramod, is what would an IP aware campus look like in practice? And what are some effective methods to measure the impact of IP awareness programs on students' innovative output and entrepreneurial activities?
Okay. Okay. So, first of all, if you look at some of the government initiatives, like, I just to name a few, T Hub and T Works in AP and Telangana, and then, Karnataka, some innovation cell, then, startup initiative, elevate startups, and all of that. So, these things are predominantly focusing on bringing the future entrepreneurs with a lot of innovations and research inculcated right from their academia. So it doesn't happen overnight. The institutions have to have a very sophisticated IP aware campus. So to begin with, just we talked about a lot of courses to be integrated into the engineering, design, entrepreneurship.
I think we lost him.
Okay, we'll come back to Pramod. Let's move on to the next question for the time being. So, for you, Neeraj, based on your work with organizations, where do you see the biggest gaps in workplace IP management? And in your vision, what does an IP ready workplace really look like?
Uh, Awareness is definitely number one part, because many a times it's it's something which people think is the outsourceable entity. They feel that, okay, what, when we have to file a trademark and when we have to file the patent, we'll hire a law firm and then just hand it over to them. And I keep saying that nowadays, gone are the days when you go to the doctors simply because when you have a fever or a very serious injury. Nowadays you start becoming healthier, and that's the equivalent. I feel that awareness is like a gym, or like a good habit. So you need to have that culture of IP as a part of your DNA. And as I keep saying, it's not just the technology companies or technology product companies that have to think about it. Even service providers or other industries start thinking about their relevant respective IP. So that's one part which we need to understand, and there's a gap there, which, as Dr. Lakshmi, Pramod, and Sandhya mentioned, there is very inexpensive way of cost-effective way of implementing it, and that can lead to a lot of cultural shift. So that's one thing. Second part is lack of understanding of the internal processes involved. So, companies implement different kind of project management tools or productivity tools, HR tools, similar kind of a thing you have to implement as a process. So, for example, creating a small committee of IP innovation, internal committees could be very helpful, where you don't need to necessarily always bring in the external members, external lawyers. You can create the committee within and then slowly start building that culture. So that's one part which you can do. And the second part is using certain project management tools like the one which we have, Lawcubator, because that will also ensure that you have everything documented, especially when you're talking about post-secondary institution. I know we are talking about only workspaces in this case, but post-secondary institutions and universities, these are such large universities that at times you don't even know what's happening. And with all due respect to all the universities and institutions, I feel that many a times, the inventions are filed on behalf of professors wherein researchers were also involved, and at times there are some unethical practices as well. I'm not saying it's a very generic practice, and while management has all the right intention, but it's practically not possible to track it. So by implementing these softwares like Lawcubator and other softwares, what happens is there's a chain. So a researcher can say that this is the project which he or she was part of, and then next set of things can happen. So that's another part where I feel a very big loophole. I feel, and the third part is uh, creating a kind of a sense that IP is not enforced upon you as employee or as researcher, as a student. IP is a very good resume tool for each and every employee, because nowadays companies are very much IP centric and IP aware. So you writing that you have gone through IP and not just saying you have filed the patent, but also saying that going part of the internal committee on IP, or gone through a particular training program also helps you when you are going to the next stage. So I think these are smaller fixes which can be done rather quickly, and it doesn't require a lot of money and time. All it requires is intent. And intent is something which I think now the government organizations and post-secondary institutions, universities have started showing. So I'm very positive and hopeful about it. I'm sorry, Pramod, we lost you. I jumped onto
Off,
it.
I
So
don't know. I
let's
kept.
conclude.
So I was just concluding my point with the last point about recognition and incentives, that the institution should have such mechanism which will support the students, faculty, and research folks there. Yeah, that was my last point.
I have just one point here, because Pramod, I was talking about workspaces and main startups and scale ups and big organization, but post secondary institution, I was also talking about one of the biggest challenge is people, be it researchers, students, at times professors as well, and in the corporate world, employees feel that IP is enforced upon them. It's almost like why am I doing it, right?
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. But it's about a DNA, and I feel that Dr. Lakshmi mentioned that regulatory bodies are trying their best, but I feel that organizations like IEEE and Shimoy, to your point, the reason why there is more awareness, because IEEE kind of organizations have started understanding and realizing the fact that this is so important, and it has to be infused, because when the likes of IEEE starts talking about it, the research fraternity and even faculty and university start giving impetus to that. Because when I was doing my engineering, I remember IP was just an optional course if you want to take it. And believe me, people used to take it when they were like, okay, what do I do? Let's take IP course so that we don't have to go to the session, kind of a thing. To
I
something
agree.
wherein now people want to do it because IEEE is talking about it. And so it's the biggest challenge I feel is IP is one of the oldest legal vertical in the society, and still it's a stigma, or it is still not promoted. So I think IP needs some marketing, help, and all of us simply talking about is the fact that we all feel that this is a time when we have to start telling to universities, colleges, and companies that start using it. It doesn't mean spending a lot of money, because people get scared when somebody talks about IP. They're like they're gonna spend a lot of time. So from I just wanted to thank IEEE and Pramod you that you are doing something which is gonna be very important for Indian society and innovation ecosystem.
Yep, yep. No, we are certainly working in that way. In fact, when we collaborated with the Lawcubator for the innovation management and intellectual property rights, right? Today we can proudly say that about 210 all 210 engineering colleges in Karnataka have access to this program. We want to promote this program as much as possible, not just on the commercialized aspect of it. It is on creating impact. And tomorrow, if you look at in 2014, I mean just 10 years ago, 10 12 years ago, we were comparing with the developing nations, India versus China and all of that. So today, if you look at overall IEEE's research work, especially in the explores document, China, and not just that, even the standards, China has totally overtook us, because in terms of standards, not just the adoption, even on the contribution, China has gone ahead. And in terms of research work and filing the IPs, they are far ahead than IEEE and India. So this happens when people just think about 9 to 5, right? Not too many people are thinking about entrepreneurship. If they want to become entrepreneurs, they have to be innovative. If they want to be innovative, they have to have more knowledge on the IPs. So that is the whole idea of IEEE as well, to help create awareness, and not just awareness, even help students to become industry ready and research focused by taking up these courses. And we will be happy to join hands with Lawcubator for more and more such programs, and promote aggressively across India, because IEEE works with both the policymakers, and we also follow the bottom up approach from the college level and from top down, from the regulatory bodies. I think this is the right time for India to shape up and promote IP programs big time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Neeraj. Thanks, Pramod. Thanks for sharing these insights. So, next question for Dr. Lakshmi. How can collaborations between academia, industry, and the government be strengthened to foster a more robust IP ecosystem that drives innovation and economic growth?
Um, I think I will just go away from the awareness program, and I let me assume that we have reached such a level that we are all aware of it and things like that. There's so much to do ahead, right? We
Yeah.
need to look at IP pools. We have to look at, I'm working on standard essential patents, working very hard with IEEE for standards. And we are trying to get a lot of people into the work. Declaration of no. First of all, if we don't know the awareness, where do we talk about declaration of patents and talk about standard essential patents? And there's so much litigation happening, and where are the litigation stories coming? Are we able to understand the litigation stories? These are all, they're really, mind-boggling for me at least. Trying to see how we can go to the next level. I think a lot, your organization can definitely take things ahead in those areas. So I think as universities, if you look at, I think we should, the next level should be, they should be told how to do patent pooling and how we can collaborate then be competitive among ourselves. And we should teach more about the cross licensing, how it happens. And more than commercialization, probably monetization, because they may not be in a position to create a product out of their patent, right? So somebody can take the patent forward and make a product and may take it forward. So and what are the, I mean, those agreements and MOUs, mergers, I mean, again, that's a big ball game altogether. But I'm sure there are a lot of there's a lot of mentorship and help from many agencies that we can go ahead and do that. So I hope I have answered, but this is what I wanted to share. So I thought I'll take this stage to say so. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. That paints such a clear picture of what's possible on campuses and in workplaces with respect to IP. So, the final question for you, Sandhya: how can in house legal teams or external counsel make IP awareness a practical, ongoing part of workplace culture, especially for non legal teams?
Creating communication channels and training in a way that's accessible and actionable. Now, why I say accessible and actionable is because how the IP, the education or information is being shared should be tailored, it should be tailored to each department, right? Because different teams, they interact in IP within different ways. Like, for example, the marketing team needs to know about trademarks and copyright risks, right? The R&D team or product team needs guidance on patents and trade secrets. Uh, Sales may need to understand IP-related claims that can or cannot be made, right? So the information that is, given to the team should be tailored accordingly. Now, how it can be actionable is probably run a team-specific awareness sessions, right? Using examples in relation to their daily work or task. So also maybe they can have IP training as a part of their onboarding and also continue that education, right? It starts from basics to, like how Dr. Lakshmi mentioned, we need to learn further for them to protect their IP, and to know what exactly to do. Then also maybe I think it's very important to say, when in doubt, ask culture, probably bring in that, right? So encourage the team or, your all the teams for the matter to discuss and talk with the legal teams. If when you're creating, if you have any kind of doubts there, so you are aware and you also avoid the risk of dealing with implication and other IP issues. Also give like probably the real time or the case studies, real world stories, so that they it's easier when you give an example to connect and to understand it better, right? So maybe if there's a legal in-house legal team, like you mentioned, they can probably give templates for patents, for that matter, NDAs and submission forms. So they have a template to work with, because for somebody who's not educated fully with regard to IP, this is an easier way, easier form to like probably follow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, all right. So now time is almost up. So we now open the floor for audience questions. So if you have any questions for our panelists, please drop them in the chat and we'll take them up one by one. Okay, so we have a question from Shashank. Hi everyone, tomorrow, April 26th, is World Intellectual Property Day, a day to celebrate the power of creativity, innovation, and the value of protecting ideas through IP. Excited to hear all the insights in today's session. Absolutely, Shashank, the timing is wonderful. If you have any questions that comes to mind later, you can always write to us and we'll get them answered. So thank you all for being a part of today's conversation. We hope these insights inspire you to take the next step in building innovation-led, IP-conscious workplaces and campuses. Special thank you to our speakers for sharing such actionable strategies and fresh perspectives. Before we close, a quick note. You have already heard about it, but Lawcubator, in association with IEEE, offers a specialized e-learning course on intellectual property and innovation management designed to make IP concepts accessible, practical, and relevant for professionals and students alike. If you're looking to start or scale up IP awareness in your organization or institution, this might be a great first step. So, thank you once again. We look forward to seeing you at the next edition of Safe Workplaces Dialogues. Until then, stay curious, stay compliant, and keep innovating. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shimoy, Neeraj, and the entire Lawcubator team. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Bye.
Thanks very much.